Hey everybody, and welcome to this module on how to develop great packaging. I'm going to warn you right now, this is probably going to be the longest module, or at least video, in this entire course. This is something that Dave and I are incredibly passionate about, something that we just kind of figured out through the School of Hard Knocks, how much packaging makes a difference in the success of your private label business. Watch this video back 2 or 3 times if you have to. We're going to get into some nitty-gritty detail, show you some examples. This is definitely a lot different than a lot of the other videos that we've done. So buckle in and let's get into it. So here's a quick 8 bullet points that we're going to be going over here. I'll take the first 4, Dave will take the other. Just going to hit these at a high level because we have specific slides about every one of these. But we want you to start thinking about this stuff as we go through it. So first thing is, do not use the standard, cheap, crappy packaging that the Chinese manufacturers will try to shove down your throat. They will try to get you to use the cheapest packaging because they don't ever want you to spend more money, because they wouldn't spend more money on stuff, and they just think that packaging doesn't matter. So don't do that. Design packaging good enough for retail shelves. I realize that this is a course about importing and selling mostly on Amazon, but you want people to get your package and have the same feeling that they would have if they bought it in a retail store. Design packaging that creates like that visceral wow kind of response. You want packaging that when people get it, that they're already having a great experience before they even see your product. It makes a huge difference. And if you think I'm full of crap, think about Apple. Most of you probably have either owned an Apple product or known someone that has. Apple has done such an amazing job with their packaging that they've convinced people to spend about 2x more or 3x more for their products than other people for basically the same thing, and the packaging has a lot to do with that. So Dave, let's go through these other ones real quick here.
Yep, the fifth thing, not as glamorous, but designing packaging that's efficient. And we're going to get into this in the shipping and logistics module a little bit more, but designing your packaging so it doesn't become an oversized item, which is going to cost you a lot more money to ship. Sixth thing, include branding and product information on the actual packaging. Seventh thing, including inserts within your packaging. We're going to give you step-by-step instructions for what to include in your inserts. And finally, including instructions with your packaging. And again, we're going to go through all of these things in more detail as we go along here.
Yep, so let's start with the first thing here, which is don't use standard, cheap Chinese packaging. The number one favorite way to package something in China is in a poly bag, in a thin poly bag, one that like when you touch it, it just feels cheap and disgusting almost, rips easily, has almost a negative experience when you get it and open it. You're already thinking, ooh, like is this like a return item, or is this like an overstock item or a defective item, or all these negative things that you have in your mind because of the poly bag. So like absolutely don't do that. Almost just as bad as the thin plain box, the cardboard box made of very thin, cheap cardboard. It gives you that same thing in your mind where you're just like, man, this is cheap. Whatever's inside must be cheap. And another favorite of China, which Dave has a funny story we might talk to you guys about at some point, but they also like to ship with no packaging. Mm-hmm. You know, they'll just stick everything inside of a container and good luck to you with no packaging at all. So definitely stay away from that. So let's kind of get into the next thing here. Dave, you want to pick this one up?
Yep. As Mike mentioned before, you want to design packaging that is good enough for retail shelves. Doesn't matter if you're never going to sell it in retail. The first impression is going to be the lasting impression. You design great packaging, the second somebody opens it, they're going to ignore flaws, and they're going to think the product is a lot better than possibly it is. So just design your package with the goal in mind that it's going to be sitting on a retail shelf at some point, even if it's never going to be.
Yeah, and I think on a lot of these topics, Dave and I are both going to talk about this just because we're so passionate about this topic. I want you to think about your shopping experience on Amazon. When you order an Apple product, or you order, let's say, some Nike shoes or a name brand product, you get the product in the same retail packaging through Amazon as you would as if you walked into that retail store. So if other companies are at that standard, you want to be at that same standard too. And I always say, like, begin with the end in mind with a lot of this stuff in business. While you might not be thinking at all about selling in the retail right now, there might be a time where that happens for you. And if you already have a consistent retail packaging, that will help then. But that's way far down the line. The most important thing is to deliver an experience that is as good as if somebody walked into a retail store.
And again, just kind of reiterating all these points. You want a package that creates a visceral wow experience. Again, like we mentioned, that first impression is going to be a lot of times their final impression. So just create an experience where they open it and they go, wow, this looks like a high quality product. It's gonna pay dividends many times over, most importantly on your Amazon reviews if you're selling on Amazon.
Yep. Nothing else for me to really add there except I completely agree. So again, think about Apple. I mean, here is a company that obviously has good high quality products, but their packaging is like some of the best I've ever seen. And we've actually used this as a case study for us internally to make packaging that's at this same quality. Think about the thick cardboard box. Think about how everything kind of nests inside of each other and it protects the item and just gives us like ultra high quality luxury kind of feel to it. And you know you've won when someone keeps your box. It actually like increases the resale value of your Apple products to have the original box, mostly because the packaging is just so darn good. There isn't much I can think of out there that has this same type of thing that where having the box actually adds value to it. Definitely really important to try to design packaging like this that creates this same feeling. Even something like this Apple box for the iPhone might only cost like $2 or $3 to put together, even at the lower quantities that we're going to be ordering at, not Apple's quality or quantities. And that extra $2 or $3 adds hundreds of dollars in some ways a perceived value for what's inside that box in the case of the Apple product. So think Apple as your case study. Anything else to add to that one, or?
Nope. I think everything you touched on there is really important. And what we're going to try to illustrate both through this lesson, but also through the entire course, is that you don't necessarily need to start at Apple standard from your very first product. You can build your way to that. But I mean, you do not want to start at basically zero. You do want to be a little bit above everybody else that's importing from China and selling on Amazon in a plain poly bag.
No plain poly bags.
Yes. And that's what we're going to teach you here, kind of how to iterate and reiterate through your packaging to ultimately, hopefully, you get it to maybe not the standard of Apple, but pretty close to it.
Yep. All right, so another thing that you can do, and this doesn't apply to all products, but there's a lot of products that you can get from China. Let's say it's I was looking at one point for tactical.com, a rifle bag, as a for instance. Now, a rifle bag is going to be, let's say, 3 feet long. And if you get it from China just in a poly bag, they'll ship in the poly bag a full 3 feet long by 6 inches wide by 2 inches thick. And while 2 of those dimensions don't trigger the oversized measurement, the long side does. And the easy way to fix that is just to fold that guy into thirds and put it inside of a box. It increases the value of your packaging. It increases the perceived value of your product. And it gets you from being a standard sized item and otherwise would have been an oversized item, which we'll talk about in other modules in this course, but it will greatly reduce your cost of shipping into Amazon and then shipping to the customer. And you can solve this problem simply by creating a proper size box.
Okay, so we're going to go over just some quick examples. Okay, we're going to give you step-by-step instructions how to get really high quality packaging in a couple minutes here. But let's just go through some of the examples of packaging that you're going to encounter in China. First one is, and the very cheapest, is a poly bag. This is simply just a bag, basically a clear plastic bag that the product comes packaged in. No box, no anything really, just a bag with the product in it. It's the absolute cheapest form of packaging that you can have, and it's probably the packaging which is going to result in the lowest reviews.
Yep. And do we want to show an example of that real quick? We have the. What do we tell after?
Yep. We'll go through We'll show you a quick example here, and then once we get to the step-by-step instructions, we will go into a little bit more detail. So this would be an example of a poly bag.
And now this one's with an insert. Let me just show this real quick.
Yeah.
I mean, it would be more just like a clear plastic bag, and this is actually like an upgraded version of a poly bag. This is kind of a thick Ziploc bag. I mean, the poly bags that China will ship you, we don't actually even have one of those here. But they're incredibly thin, incredibly chintzy. Definitely stay away from those.
Yep.
All right, so the next thing we have is the cardboard box. These kind of come in different variety. Starting at the cheapest is just a thin plain brown paper cardboard box. I don't have one of those here to show as a plain box. We do have one that was printed that we use that's a lot higher quality. We'll show that in a little bit here. The next one will be just putting a sticker on the cardboard box. Typically they'll charge about a nickel to 25 cents each, depending on the size of the sticker. You could pay $1 for a very large sticker, depending on the size of the product. And then you would have a white box, the plain white box, which again, I wish we had some more examples of these cheaper types of packaging, but we just don't use these in our business, so we don't have them laying around. But there's ways to upgrade by just even sticking a sticker on it, which we'll talk about here in a few minutes. And you guys get the idea. A plain brown paper box, everybody kind of knows what that is. And trust me when I tell you that the free one that they will try to sell you or send with the product will be the thinnest, cheapest cardboard you've ever seen. It's pretty sad.
Okay, and kind of advancing on to a little bit higher quality packaging is a clamshell and a blister pack. Depending how the item comes packaged, this could actually come across as a little bit of a cheaper packaging type, but they actually do cost on average about 20 cents to $2 opposed to a poly bag, which is free. And finally, I guess kind of the ultimate premier type of packaging that you can have would be a full color box. And there's different varieties of these boxes that you can get. You can kind of move your way up the scale of types of full color boxes. You can go from a plain corrugated full color box all the way up to something like a magnetic full color box, which is going to cost you a lot more money, but the perceived value, again, is going to be a lot higher from the customer.
Yep. All right, so let's head over to the next slide here, which is some of the more high quality types of packaging. So you could talk about like a cardboard box with a lid. This is something that we've done for a couple of our products. There's a lot you can do with this. You can also put like a little bit of an insert inside there for the product to lay into, depending on the type of product you have. You can certainly print on the box and do some other things and shrink wrap that type of box. Then you have something like a cardboard box with a clear plastic window. This is something that we did for our baby clothing, and we have some of that here. We'll be showing this in a little bit. But this is like a great way to kind of showcase the product. If you can kind of think about the retail environment, this is something that you see in retail a lot. So this is a great type of package. And then the magnetic flip top box is kind of our signature box for our coloring brand. It's a really high quality box. It's something that we know our customers covet and keep, which we feel like is the ultimate goal with the packaging. If you have the type of product that has enough margin, that's at the right price point, and is kind of in the right niche, then you can definitely design boxes that people will want to keep, and it's worked wonders for us. And just kind of going through the pricing here, the cheapest end of this scale would be the cardboard box with the clear plastic window. Those can be as low as like 35 cents a piece for a high quality box. The box with the lid you can get for as little as 50 cents, and the magnetic box is going to be at least $1.50. It'll have a couple of magnets inside the lid, so it kind of snaps shut and gets that cool effect, I guess, as you open and close the package.
And again, just another type of kind of option that you can offer with your products is that you can actually offer basically a reusable cloth or canvas bag that your product comes packaged in. Something that we do in our off-roading brand, we wrap our ropes in basically a reusable duffel bag almost that people can both pack their ropes in but also pack other accessories. And again, this gives that added value perception to customers when they get it. Yes, they're getting the rope and that's a primary product that they're buying, but they're also getting this nice little carrying bag that they can put the product in, and it keeps kind of that reminder of the brand that they just bought, the off-roading gear brand, which is obviously embossed on that bag itself.
Yep, and this is something that most of the time people will never throw away or they'll reuse for another purpose. So it definitely hits that objective we were just talking about. Well worth the extra $1 or $2 depending on the type of cloth you're using. Get your name on the bag, and it's something that people will definitely use either to carry your product around or carry something else around. People love bags.
Yeah. Okay, so now we're going to get into the nitty-gritty, some actionable, real advice that you can do on your first product or your second product, your first few products. Some advice that you can actually take to the supplier and make sure that your packaging is better than 99% of the other Amazon sellers out there who are going with basically the lowest common denominator for packaging.
Yeah.
So we're gonna work our way through here, basically all the way from a poly bag, the absolute cheapest type of packaging that you can do, all the way up to a full color box. So what we're going to do, or let's give you an example of a situation actually. So first thing you do, if you're importing a product from a supplier in China, ask them how does it come packaged. They're going to tell you either that it comes in a poly bag, it comes in a plain box, it comes in a full color box. Ask them ideally to get a picture of actually how it's going to come packaged. Once you figure out how it's becoming packaged, then you can start to kind of make improvements on this. So we'll start here with the assumption that your supplier has just told you that the item is going to come packaged in a poly bag.
Poly bag example.
Yes. So we brought this up earlier in the lecture, and I'm going to take out this insert. This would be basically the absolute cheapest packaging that you can get. And this is actually a high quality poly bag, but normally your supplier would give you a very low quality poly bag. So the
poly bags are measured in mils, or the quality of them are measured in mils. So the typical Chinese poly bag will be 1 to 3 mils. Just think tissue paper thickness. Versus this is an 8 mil bag, which again, it's a very high quality plastic bag. It's not flimsy. And this one's actually a Ziploc. I mean, a lot of the poly bags from China don't even have the Ziploc on them. Again, incredibly cheap presentation.
So the very first off, like Mike mentioned, you can ask to have it packaged in a little bit higher quality poly bag. So this would be about an 8 mil poly bag, and you can't really tell from the video how thick this is. This is actually a really high quality poly bag. It's a much better experience than getting a really thin poly bag. So that's probably the second thing that I would ask your supplier.
And they probably would charge you maybe a penny or a half a penny per item to upgrade the bag, because that's about all the more expensive it is to get a higher quality poly bag. So for a fraction of a penny or a penny, you can really upgrade your customer experience by getting the thicker poly bag if that's the route you do end up going.
Now, aside from the actual bag itself, the absolute first thing that you must do is you must have an insert like this. It can be printed on just generic paper. Ideally, you're going to have it more on a cardstock paper. You'll just ask your supplier, can we send you an insert that you'll print and insert into the poly bag? 9 times out of 10, they're going to say sure. They might charge you maybe 10 cents for it, maybe 25 cents. But 9 times out of 10, they're going to agree to it. You can get this insert designed. You can either do it yourself, use one of the free tools like canva.com, go to Fiverr, or if you really want high quality professional grade packaging, go to 99 Designs, and you're going to pay about $300. You get a really high quality insert like this designed. But you absolutely must have an insert like this inserted into your poly bag. Do not ever send a poly bag without some type of insert.
Yep, and you can integrate all kinds of stuff into this. I mean, these guys have integrated a barcode, their brand name, contact information, some instructions, a full color picture of the product. This is still by far and away not my favorite way of packaging a product. I think that this still has a low quality image, but this is exponentially better than just shipping it in a thin poly bag with no insert or anything in it. You can still do better, and we're going to talk about what you can do better, but this is at least a huge upgrade for a very little cost. If you're just getting started and don't have a lot of resources, it's hard to do everything we're talking about in this course. And if you really are excited to get going, minimal effort, just upgrade the poly bag, put in that insert that we were just showing you. That's a day or two's extra worth of work. It might cost you an extra quarter per item to get all that done, and it'll make a huge difference in your reviews, your return rate, your customer satisfaction rate. I know it sounds crazy. Trust me, we've been through this. It makes a big difference.
Yep. So going on now to the next, basically the second best type of packaging that you'll run into will be a plain box. So the next example we have is rather large, but just bear with it for a second.
So this is a plain cardboard box that we upgrade. This is a product that we do sell, but we did full printing on it, so it did cost a little bit extra. I think there was between 25 cents and 50 cents extra to do this really nice printing, and they upgraded the thickness of the box. But this item, stock from the manufacturer, came in a completely plain, thin, cheap cardboard box. So this is a $60, $70 item that we're selling people. We want them to have a good experience, so we printed again on all the different sides. and upgraded this experience to just make it higher quality.
And that would be, with a plain box, that would be basically the ultimate upgrade that you could do. You could do what they call a mono printed box, one color printed onto it, and you upgrade also the thickness of the box, normally measured in how many layers that corrugated box is. Now, if you want to kind of take more of a cheap approach to upgrading that box, what you could do is ask the supplier to upgrade that box to a white box. And a white box just has it looks quite a bit better than a brown corrugated box. Upgrade it to a white box and then also have them put a full color sticker onto the box. Now, unfortunately, we don't have a picture of one of these boxes here. We'll link up to it in the slides once we edit this video. But basically you have your supplier change the brown corrugated box to a white box, and then you send them the artwork for a sticker that will go on top of that white box. And it has a pretty good effect, and it looks like a very reasonable quality packaging of a product. And it's going to be a lot cheaper than actually printing onto the boxes.
Yep. Just a real quick tip, I guess, pro tip on this. You need to realize at this stage that you're an entrepreneur. You're going to have to kind of get your hands dirty sometimes. I know this is the ultimate dream is to be able to just ship stuff directly into Amazon, never see or touch your inventory. But for things like this in the beginning, we would send it to us and we would put the sticker on the box. Yep. Go down to Staples, print out 500 stickers. It'll probably be cheaper than the price they'll quote you in China, just because these types of things are very expensive to do in China on small runs, but you can get it done locally at a reasonable price. Sticking a full colored sticker on a box like that, again, will increase the perception, the perceived value of this product so much that it's definitely worth your time to do it. And yeah, the second order, the third order, the fourth order, when things are going well for you, then you can design the full color box and have everything integrated and not have to worry about being the guy that's putting stickers on boxes anymore. I know I certainly don't miss those days of doing that. We did it ourselves in our early products. But don't be afraid to get your hands dirty and step in to fix a part of the problem that maybe China isn't willing to fix for you by just going to Staples or a UPS store or whatever that can print up stuff like that for you.
Yep, totally agree. I've been there, you've been there, Mike, and most of my successful e-commerce friends have at some point actually kind of taken part of the manufacturing process into their own hands. And it's kind of ironic that we're basically doing the Chinese factories' work, but sometimes you got to do what you got to do.
Yep.
So the next type of packaging we're going to go into here is basically kind of the premier full color box. Now the full color box, it's rarely available in lower quantities because there's normally minimum print quantities that the printing company is going to have for these full color boxes. Now keep in mind, the factories are not printing these boxes themselves 99% of the time. They're using a printing company to do it. And normally these printing companies have, on average, about 500 pieces as their minimum quantity. So if you're going to get a full color box, which you can customize, you're probably going to be looking at an MOQ, minimum order quantity, of about 500 pieces.
Yep. Can I just see that full color box again real quick? So I think this is actually one of our products. I believe that this was about 30 cents to print this particular full color box. Way better presentation than if I open this thing up. I just actually thought about this. Here is a Chinese poly bag. I forgot that this was inside here. This is how they normally package this item when you buy it. Think about getting this thing. You can hear I'm making a lot of static noise on purpose. This isn't by accident, and I know it sounds bad, but this is how it's normally packaged. Sticking it in this box adds a way better perceived value. This is, again, more of a retail packaging type product. For an extra 30 cents, I'm completely changing people's minds over what they're going to see when they get this in the mail with a sticker on it, like a Amazon barcode, versus getting this, which is just a much more professional look.
Yep. And your full color boxes are basically going to come in two varieties. If you're lucky, your supplier might actually have kind of an unbranded full color box, which they will send you with the product in. If that's the case, then I would ask your supplier to include your logo on that full color box as a sticker, because again, they can't do another separate run if it's a low MOQ just for your logo. They can't do 100 pieces of that. They're going to need hundreds of pieces. But if they already have the boxes in their stock, which are unbranded, simply give them your logo and ask them to put it on there as a sticker. Again, it brands the product then as your product, and your supplier should be able to work with you on a low MOQ. If you do meet the minimum order quantities, you're probably going to have to design your own box. Mike designed this box on himself or on his own. I believe he used 99 Designs to have this box designed. Ask your supplier for the template for that box. Once you have the template, you can go to 99 Designs and again pay about $300 and have an extremely high quality, professional, full color box printed for you.
If you want to sound really professional, ask for the die line. That's the industry term for that, and then that'll be included in your brief with 99 Designs, so the designer knows exactly what the dimensions are of the box.
Absolutely. And then a couple other things that we're going to go into, no matter how your item is coming packaged, is instructions and inserts. So keep in mind, your supplier, if you don't ask, is probably not going to include instructions. So if they do have them, you want to make sure that you are actually including these instructions. Now, if they do actually have the instructions already made, you probably want to ask for a hard copy of those instructions, and rewrite them into readable English. The instructions that you get written from your supplier are probably going to be written in very bad English. Take the effort, take the hour to actually rewrite those instructions into readable English. Again, it's just a much better experience for the customer reading something in high quality professional English opposed to broken English.
Yep.
The other thing that when it comes to instructions, you do want to include some type of instructions if that product requires either A, any assembly, or B, any use instructions. And pretty much every product requires some use instructions. So something like one of Mike's cold wraps, how do people position it on their body? Where do they place it? These are kind of basic questions, but you do want to include some type of instruction kind of explaining this to people. Often you may need to design these instructions yourself. That means going onto Amazon, finding one of the more famous brands, getting that package delivered to your house, getting the instructions, and basically rewriting the instructions in your own words and kind of tailored to your product.
And a lot of times the manufacturer will have diagrams to be able to send you at least that part of it, so you can use their drawings or schematics or diagrams depending on what kind of product it is, what word you want to put in there, but and then just write your own English instructions to just remove everything that they say, because that's always in Chinglish.
Yep. And finally, the last thing is you want to include an insert in almost every product that you ship. Now, an insert is basically just a little card that you put in every box, and that insert is going to say a few different things, and we're actually going to give you a template for what your inserts should include in a couple of minutes here.
Yeah, can you grab the black box over there just real quick? We'll show you an example of an insert here, the black one on the cart. So we'll show you an example of an insert card and just also another type of packaging here. This is what I would call a full color box that it's actually a black box, but we also printed some stuff on it. But I'll just show you kind of here. This is like a flip up type box. Now this is a cheap box. This doesn't really cost us more than like 40 cents to put together. But man, does it have a much nicer presentation than just sticking it in a poly bag. We also do like a little nice touch by adding tissue paper in here. We wrap the case in tissue paper. That just kind of adds like that little bit of a prestige thing, and then it's just the case inside the box. What I really want to show you here is our insert card for this particular item. It's printed on thick cardstock, and it hits the bullet points that we're going to talk about, and we'll include this template. But one of the things it has here, and you're not going to be able to read that obviously on the screen, but we'll include the template, but it has the features that we call out that we think that makes our product better. It's really interesting. There's some psychology around this. When you tell people what makes this product great and they read it, they'll believe it. And it just seems like that's kind of a trend no matter what today in news and all kinds of other things. But people will read it and it's a psychological thing. They will believe that, oh, it's quality materials, smart design, multifunction, it has a 1-year warranty. These are the things that we called out for this particular product. The other thing we have down here is tell us what you think. We tell them how to get a hold of us if they have a support issue, and we also ask for a review in a white hat Amazon terms of service compliant way to just say, please leave us a review on the platform that you purchased the item. We're looking for your honest feedback. We don't say only do this if it's a 5-star review. If you have a less than a 5-star review, contact us. We don't do any of those types of games. It just simply says if to leave us feedback. Your feedback is vital to our community. We'd love to hear from you. Please share your experience and tell us what you think about this premium carrying case and post a review. We don't, again, have any caveats or stipulations. And this insert card, adds value. Again, it adds value to the presentation, but it also adds value to you because it gives you a 1% extra chance or whatever it is of getting a review. Reviews are hard to get. People see this. It looks professional, has our social media contact information on it, support contact information, just a much better experience. So definitely make sure you include an insert card. This costs us like a nickel, full color printing on thick cardstock. Doesn't add a lot of cost. It gives you extra chance of getting a review and a higher quality experience.
And one thing I will say with the inserts, again, your supplier is probably going to tell you, well, Dave, you're only ordering 100 pieces, but our minimum order to print these is 500 pieces. We'll tell them, okay, we'll keep the other 400 in stock, keep them on our next order, and we'll pay you for them. You'll pay them $500 times 5 cents, which is whatever that works out to,
Yeah.
$30, and just ask the supplier to keep them in stock.
Yeah, that's a great trick for packaging as well. We've actually done that before. We've been told like there's a 10,000 minimum run or whatever to do certain types of packaging. I forgot the technical name for it, but it's kind of like a poly bag where the words are printed like inside layers. We use it for one of our products. It looks really great, but they have a 10,000 minimum run to like run this film. I'm like, all right, we'll stick 9,000 of them in the corner when we order next time. And they're almost always happy to do that.
Yeah.
And there's lots of other packaging that you can do that with as well. But yeah, that's always be thinking of like ways you can think outside the box. I know that's a cliche saying, but it certainly works with this type of thing.
Yep. Okay, and we'll go into actually some real kind of actionable things that you can include on your packaging, inserts, and instructions.
Yep.
So, first off, your packaging should include the following things: a brand name and logo, pictures of the product, just one picture of the product. Ask your supplier for a high-resolution photograph of this product if you don't have it already. A description of the product, it can be just a few sentences. Country of origin markings, make sure that your packaging says made in China, otherwise your product could be rejected at the port. And finally, include any company information. At the very least, your company name and address, and ideally your URL, email, or barcode.
You have that? Can I see that black knee support box again? So here's a good example, just a box that includes all of these things, right? It has our logo, it has a description, it has a picture of the product. On the back, it has like our website address, all these things that Dave was just talking about. It's easy to integrate all these different things into a package like this. And again, it looks like a retail professional level great thing, but don't forget these little details, especially the made in China, which is right here on the box. I know you can't see in the camera, but if this ever gets stopped at customs and they look and it doesn't say made in China, they will make you come down there and put that on there yourself.
Yeah.
So
I
don't skip that step.
I can speak from experience on that. And again, it doesn't matter if you're doing a full color box or a sticker, make sure your label includes all of those things. And again, touching on inserts, Mike went into pretty good detail here on that a couple slides ago about this, but make sure your inserts include a few things. 3 to 5 bullet points about why your product is great. Again, just let people know why your product is great. Tell them about the material, the warranty, anything that makes that product great. Give them contact information for how to contact you. Give them an email address, and you accomplish 2 things by including your email address on the insert. Number 1, obviously you give them a way to contact you if there are any problems, and again, that avoids a negative review. But also, assuming that you have a website registered, you can include your domain on the email there. It's kind of a backdoor way that person can go to your website and check you out without blatantly advertising your URL, which sometimes Amazon frowns upon. Third thing you can do is, like Mike mentioned, request a review on the platform that they purchased, normally Amazon. And the fourth thing you should include is any links to your social media. Normally that means Facebook, but if you're on any other platforms, whether it's Pinterest or Instagram, include links to those.
Yep, don't forget the Twitters.
Yeah, don't forget the tweets.
Cool. So we were talked about instructions already, but we have an example here of some instructions. It's actually probably not easy for us to get to. So, but what we've done, first of all, is always increase the quality of the paper that they print it on. I don't know where China gets their paper, but if you ever have had this stuff in your hand, it's like almost freakish. It's not the quality of printer paper. It's much lower than that.
Toilet paper.
It's like toilet paper or tissue paper. I don't know what it is. It's amazing. And that's what they print their instructions on. And because the quality of the paper is so low, the ink doesn't take to it very well. So the ink is kind of like almost like this gray instead of a dark black. And for younger people, that's not a big deal. But if you have an older audience of any kind that's trying to read these instructions, it's very difficult for them to read. So we use a higher gloss paper and a higher quality ink, and then we typically will make it into like a little bit of a booklet, make sure we include our logo and clear instructions on how to assemble or use the product. And this is one of these things where we get other people in our office or friends of ours to read over them and give them the product. You'll be shocked at how something that seems so simple and obvious to you can be just over someone else's head, or they didn't think about it that way. And once you print those instructions and get those things in, it's too late to change them until the next reorder. So take the extra time to write really great instructions. Think about yourself on Christmas Day after you've gotten something from IKEA and you're trying to put it together, or a bicycle or something or whatever it is, and you're like throwing the instructions across the room and really pissed off. Don't create that experience for one of your customers. Make sure you include good instructions. You'll make a much happier customer. You'll get higher review ratings even though it's the same exact product, but just better instructions and make their life easier putting it together.
Yeah. Every single time you should include some type of instructions. I can think of very, very few examples when you should not have at least a short instructional paper on how to use the product. And like we touched on before, if you're having problems coming up with instructions, you can't do it in your own words, find a competitor's product, see what they're doing for the instructions, and kind of rewrite them in your own words.
Yep. Alrighty. That is all we have for this module. I apologize for the long video on this. I even want to reiterate it one more time. This is probably the most important module in here, even more so than finding good products, because you can find the good products, but if you skip this step, you're going to end up with a 3-star product. You're going to end up with a product that doesn't sell very well. You're going to be emailing us saying, I don't understand. I did all the things you told me to do, and my product just isn't selling very well. Amazon is a momentum-based platform. If you can get just 1 or 2 people out of 100 flip their experience from being to being 5 stars, that momentum builds over a period of time to make you more and more successful. Do not skip this packaging exercise. It's not the most glamorous or exciting thing. It's always more exciting to find new things and get those things up on the platform than it is to do great packaging. But if you flip that equation on its head and put just as much attention in the packaging, I promise you better success. So thank you guys for listening. We'll be back with another module soon, and best of luck.